Good morning, everybody. You are listening to K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki, and today we are going to be talking about those We Buy Houses guys. You've seen the signs on the sides of the road or the big billboards that say We Buy Ugly Houses, and you've probably wondered, how do those guys work? Like, they claim they can buy quickly, they claim they have cash, they claim they have the ability to fund your transaction really fast, and the reality is they do. They absolutely do. And so we're going to dive into how all of that works so that you guys can understand in case you find yourself in a situation where you need to liquidate or sell your house fast. And first, though, before we dive into it, I wanted to see if everybody had a wonderful, well, I don't want to see, but I'm hoping that everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and enjoyed their time with their family and was able to eat a lot of good food and give thanks. And even in this crazy time of year, it has been definitely a good, for a lot of people it's been a crazy year, but it's still been a good year. We all have, if you're listening to this, that means you're alive and you've got your life, which is fantastic, and so that's a plus. It could be worse, and we definitely want to obviously be grateful for what we have. I love the saying that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, where if you focus on what you don't have versus focusing on what you do have, then of course life is going to seem not as, not going in your favor as much. It's going to seem like you have less to be grateful for. But if you turn it around and spin it and think about what you do have, obviously, it's going to make you feel like you've got a lot. I mean, if you start thinking about all the things that you have, then you're going to forget about the things you don't have. Sure, we all want other stuff, but nonetheless, we have the ability to control, how we feel. And who was it that was our guest the other, I can't remember off the top of my head, but Tony Robbins always talks about, you get to decide if you're in a good mood or in a bad mood, if you're happy, if you're sad. It's a choice. I mean, there are things that will happen that could create sadness, but you get to decide and choose if you want to stay there. Now, obviously, there's some things that are more sad than others, and so it might be a little bit more difficult than others to choose not to be sad. And I remember when I lost, one of my best friends in an accident. It was very difficult to choose not to be sad. I was extremely sad. But for the most part, your average day-to-day things are not that big of a deal, that you can choose. As Tony Robbins says, you can choose to just be happy. Focus on what you have and ignore what you don't have and choose to be happy. So anyways, I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and wanted to dive into now the whole We Buy Houses kind of scenario, because I get asked a lot. When I share with people, yeah, I buy houses and I can close quickly, and they're always fascinated by that. Like, okay, so what do you guys do? How do you guys buy houses and plural and so quickly, and don't have to, how do you get those loans to fund so fast? Because if you've ever bought a house, you know that your typical transaction takes, probably 30 to 45 days to fund, right? And so you've got a loan that you've applied for, and you're constantly talking to your loan officer, your mortgage broker. They're constantly asking you for more things and new things, and then you got to get your appraisal, and you got a due diligence period, and then before you know, like 35 days later, you finally get your loan. And the We Buy Houses guys claiming they can close in as little as 24 hours if need be. How does that loan work? And so basically, let's talk about this. So you obviously, as I mentioned, you're going to see the billboards out on the street. We buy ugly houses. We buy houses. You're going to see they call them bandit signs that are in the at each intersection that say, I buy houses, call me, and we buy houses, call me. And basically it's for people that are in a position that obviously need to get their funds quickly, or they're just in a position that they don't want to go through the home selling process of, hundreds of buyers walking through the home for whatever reason. There's a lot of reasons why people don't want to do that. Now, if you're not in a hurry, right? If you're not in a hurry to sell for whatever reason, you've got time, then probably putting it on the open market, finding the buyer who's going to take 30 to 45 days to get his long loan is probably better for you, because you're probably going to be able to net more funds. And it all depends too on the condition of the home. So if your home's in good condition, as I probably should have stated, if your home's in good condition and you don't need to hurry, then you're probably going to net more putting it on the open market out to every buyer out there and getting someone who's going to get a traditional loan. Now, if you are, let's say, in a hurry, or your home is that you're trying to sell, in rough shape, maybe you inherited it from grandma and grandpa who just passed away, who are hoarders, and unfortunately in their latter days they didn't maintain the home very well, and there's leaky roofs and holes in the walls and leaky faucets and dated electrical in there, and just we don't want to call it garbage, because obviously grandma and grandpa loved that stuff and that's why they kept it, but as you start to go through it, you realize most of it is garbage. And now the task becomes so overwhelming, you're like, what are we going to do with all of this quote unquote garbage? You're going to go through and obviously get the stuff that you feel isn't garbage, but now you've got, and I think the worst house I ever purchased as far as a hoarder house was 5 30-yard dumpsters of garbage. Massive dumpsters. It took 5 of them to be able to throw away all the stuff that the seller, who basically inherited the home from, I believe, their parents. They had this house, I think the parents had passed away, and they had this intent that the heirs were going to go through the belongings in the home, and within time, once it was all cleaned out, then they were going to put the house on the open market. And they ended up having the house for several years because it just was such a burden for them to have to go through all that stuff, that they got to the point where they finally was like, you know what? And the house was in super rough condition. Just to share with you, like, unfortunately, there was not a lot of funds to maintain the house towards the latter days of these people who passed, but the sellers were like, okay, we're done. We've literally gone through as much as we want to go through because we're tired of going through all this piles of stuff. And as you can imagine, it was originally a 4-bedroom home, and all 4 bedrooms literally had stuff stacked above my head. So when you walked in, and you opened the door, there were things stacked up in all 4 bedrooms, up to higher than my head. I mean, it was ridiculous how much stuff was saved in there. And so this family, of course, is trying to go through it, and as they're transferring some of the stuff from one bedroom to the next bedroom to see if they can find any treasures that they want to keep, it just got too much after several years. They said, yeah, I think we've got everything that we can recall that we would want to take from this house, so we want to obviously sell it, but this is not a house you're going to put in the open market, because you couldn't even walk. I mean, you could, but the family realized that most people who were going to walk through that house were going to just walk right out, because you couldn't even walk through the house, right? You opened the front door and there were just trash piled up to the, up, like I said, past my head, right there in the living room, and the kitchen was, just the same. Every room was the same except for the bedrooms had the most, right? And so, and then forget about the basement. You walk down to the basement and it was like, holy cow. So anyways, it took 5 dumpsters, and this is the type of transaction where someone's like, hey man, we are done with this house. We'd like to sell it. We heard you're a cash buyer. We heard that you buy houses like this, and so would you be open to entertaining this particular property? And so we went and looked at it, and of course, we were able to give them their funds within a week, and they just wanted to be done with it as quickly as possible. And so those are the types of scenarios that I think if you find yourself in where you're just like, yeah, I don't want to do any repairs, because a lot of sellers initially think they're going to take out all the trash. They're going to then patch it up. They're going to paint and carpet it, and they're going to fix it up so that they can get top dollar on the market. But when they realize that how expensive it's going to cost to remodel, and they don't have the funds to do it or the time to do it, it gets to a point where they're just like, yeah, let's just turn around and sell it to a We Buy Houses guy, for instance. And so basically that's kind of the scenario. Is those are probably, typically, I wouldn't say always, because there are people that also have the beautiful home that an associate, I guess a colleague or a friend, somebody I know, how about that? I'm trying to think of what the right word is. Probably an associate is probably the better word. I don't work with him, but I know him. And he recently purchased a beautiful $700,000, $800,000 home in Lehigh. And that was not, a hoarder house. That was not trashed. Unfortunately, in that situation, the sellers were basically in foreclosure, and they thought that they were going to be able to come up with the money to pay the back payments that they were behind to stop the foreclosure, so they never put the home on the market. They thought, because they didn't want to sell it, they were like, we'll figure out how to raise the money, get the money, borrow the money, somehow come across the money to pay off the bank the amount of money that we're behind. And they were quite behind. I mean, you can imagine a beautiful $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 house there in the Lehigh Highland area. Probably has a pretty hefty payment, and they hadn't made it in half a year. But they were pretty confident that they were going to come up with the funds until obviously the week of. And then that week, when they couldn't come up with the funds to bring the back payments, they were going to get foreclosed on. Their auction was literally that week. And so this individual that I happen to know, We Buy Houses guy, ended up helping them, because they were, if they were going to sell, they needed to sell someone who could pay for the house before Friday, because the auction was on Friday, and I think it was like Tuesday. And so he had to do a very quick closing, fund the transaction, and basically purchase that property just to help those individuals avoid the foreclosure. Now they, of course, I don't know if you want to say, lost is probably not the right word. They didn't lose the home, they sold the home, but they sold the home out of a necessity. So they did not stay there. In case you're wondering, oh, that's cool, We Buy Houses guy came, bought the house, so avoided foreclosure. They could stay there. No, they could not stay there, of course, because they're not the owner anymore. So they did have to move. So their hope was to stay in the home and not have to move, because they wanted to continue living there. But that wasn't the case. They ended up selling the home, and of course, the We Buy Houses guys, the way we make our money as real estate investors is then we turn around and freshen it up and then resell it. The fix and flip that you see on those TV shows on HGTV, we'll go in there and fix it up and flip them. However, this house didn't need to be fixed up too much because it was already pretty, but I believe, and I'm not positive, but I believe the person who purchased the home is probably going to go in there with a fresh coat of paint and get the flooring looking really nice if it's new carpet, or carpet clean the property, and then turn around and probably resell it on the open market. So basically, We Buy Houses individuals will typically leverage a couple different ways to fund these transactions relatively quickly. And one is they have the cash. They'll already have the cash in their bank account, and that's why they don't need to go get a loan, because they have it. And so they can close, within 24 hours, if the title company finds that there's no liens on the property and it's clear title, they can fund in as little as 24 hours. The fastest I've funded was in 3 days. I've never done a 24-hour fund, but it's not that common to do a 24-hour fund, but I have seen it. I have definitely seen it. But it's, again, not that super common. Usually it's 7 days or less, kind of the 7-day-ish, give or take a day or two less, that you'll see that's relatively quick, that people, when they want to really get paid. And mostly that's because of title work. So if you go under a contract with the We Buy Houses, or an investor in general, let's just call them investors. If you go under a contract with an investor, then they're going to open title with the title company. The title company is going to take a few days to do a search to make sure there's clean title, and get the payoffs on any liens that are on the home. And so that could take, a couple days right there. And so that's typically why, and if there is a lien that they have a hard time getting in touch with the lien holder, then it can be even more tricky to get that lien paid off. But the other ways that investors will fund it is what we call typically hard money. And there's also private money. Now, hard money are basically hard money lenders that will loan on properties that are in rough shape, right? They're in rough shape, and a traditional bank may not want to loan on that particular home. So there's these hard money lenders out there who will loan on that, and they do have access to cash, and they do their due diligence, and they're very familiar with the fixing and flipping world, and they're comfortable with those types of properties. So they're going to be another individual who investors will utilize to fund a fast transaction. And then there's, of course, private money as well, where they can leverage private lenders, which are typically going to be people they know. Hard money lenders are going to typically be like legitimate companies that you're going to borrow these funds from. And a private lender is going to be somebody like, your uncle, your parents, your siblings. And so it's going to be a little bit different as far as private money. But a lot of these real estate investors have gone out and put together a combination of traditional financing, hard money financing, and private money financing for different types of scenarios that they may need in order to implement the funds, the financing of transactions that they come across where people may need money quicker, and some people might not need money as quick, right? And so they can leverage traditional financing if the house is in decent shape. So a lot of times, basically, you're finding these individuals through the internet, searching who can buy my house fast. I don't want to have 50 people coming through my grandma's house that has, hoarder galore throughout the home. I just want to be done with this and then walk away without having to worry about cleaning all that, right? Because usually these investors will buy as is. They don't need you to clean the hoarder stuff. That's the beauty, as my broker calls it, it's the easy button. I think it was Staples that came out with that commercial where you push the easy button. Investors are the easy button. You push the easy button, they give you the money, and you walk away, and you don't have to do any heavy lifting, any cleaning, any dumpster work. And that's why people will typically, sell in those situations to investors to have the easy option and not have to go through the process of shopping on the open market. But before they can do that, they want to empty out the house, and before they do that, or after they do that, then they want to paint and carpet it, and then as they go to paint and carpet, they realize there's other things that are wrong, and the electrical's old because it's grandma's house, and it's they go to upgrade that, and then before you know it, it's like super expensive. So that is pretty much kind of the nutshell of how it works. Now, once these investors buy it, then they're the ones that are basically doing the fix and flip, right? Those shows that we talked about that you see on HGTV where they buy the home, they fix it up, they flip it, and that's typically what an investor will do. And that's how, obviously, they'll make their living, and they make the house drop dead gorgeous. They make it the most beautiful home on the market, on the street, I should say. And then, of course, it raises the values of the neighbors. So it's a win-win for everybody. The seller got an easy button way out. The investor went and did the work to produce a beautiful product that sells for top market value, which then, of course, raises the value of the neighbor's home. So when you see a fix and flipper in your neighborhood improving a home, that's a good thing. Because now when that house sells for top dollar, that affects the value of your property, right? And so We Buy Houses are a phenomenal piece to the investing world out there that I don't think a lot of people see the value in them or realize. Maybe they just don't think about the value of them because it's not something that they're thinking about. They pass the sign, the bandit sign, the billboard sign on the street, and it's not something that they're through their thought process. But these individuals can be very beneficial in helping people in situations and then improving the neighborhood. And so if you find yourself in a scenario where you're like, oh crap, now I need to liquidate this house and want to do it quick, or I just want to do it the easy way, then in many cases the we buy houses can be a very good option. And typically when you sell to a we buy houses investor, there's no real estate agent commissions involved, right? So in many cases you don't have to worry about paying for real estate commissions. If you put it on the open market, of course you do. And so there are lots of benefits to it. Now, I think a good idea, when I sit down and meet with sellers that are debating which option to do, I think a good idea is to sit down with an investor, contact a We Buy Houses investor, and see just what they have to offer. It's a no obligation offer, right? So if you're thinking about taking and utilizing the easy button route, then reach out to an investor, have them chat with you in regards to how they can help you, how quickly it will be, how much they can offer you. And then at least you have that information to now decide and compare it to if it's a better idea to go through and clean out the home and do a couple repairs and then put it back on the market, retail, like on the open market for top dollar, and see if that's a better route. And in some cases it may be. I have sat down with sellers before where I've had this discussion. It wasn't, a terrible hoarder house, and it wasn't, terribly in shape. And I shared with them, I said, hey, I think, in my opinion, if you were my sibling and you came to me and said, hey, what should I do? Should I sell this to somebody like you, or should I fix it up? I'd say, with the minimal amount that you need, this house would need to freshen up, I would, if you have the funds, fix it up. I would fix it up. Maybe you can get an equity line of credit against the property and use those funds to go in and remodel the home to improve the value so that you can increase your profit when you sell, right? And if you've got the time and the ability, then that could be the better route, right? And I've literally shared that with people. I said, listen, I'd love to buy your home. However, your house is in pretty good shape, and I think if you're open to it, I would do this and this to your house, do this, and it was basically do this and this to your kitchen, do this and this to your bathroom, and then do this to, just pretty much paint the rest of the home. You would get significantly more than if you sold it to me, because those are the things that I'm going to go do. And so and it was so minimal that I've shared with them that I think they should do that. And if they chose that they ended up not wanting to do it, call me back. I'd love to come buy it, but I just felt that they were going to be in a better position to do it themselves, which by the time we were done with the conversation, they were very thankful. They agreed. They said, yes, I think that is very minimal. Now that you say it like that, now that you've shared what would increase the value of our home, fixing what items, I think it's very manageable. So anyways, we left. I left their home. But we left the conversation open that if they changed their mind, they could always call me back. But if they went through the motions, they'd get more money selling it on their own, after fixing it up. And now they're in a position where at least they have their options, right? So they can figure out if that's a good idea or a bad idea, because at least now they have options based off of what I was able to share with them and what they now know is capable, what they're capable of. So I think it's a good idea to reach out to these individuals if you find yourself in a position to at least hear what they might have, what they might be able to offer you. Now, I shared with that family, typically in this story, I shared with that family that I felt it was a good idea to fix, touch up their kitchen. Their kitchen was in decent shape, and so this house was a rental property that they owned. So the tenants had kind of run down the kitchen a little bit, and it was in decent shape. So I said, if you sprucing up your kitchen, then you will increase the profit of your property dramatically without having to do a ton of work, right? Now, I went through all of the things that I felt they should do. If you reach out to an investor, let's say a We Buy Houses, he may not share what you should do to your home, just because he may want to buy your home, and he might just say, listen, here's my best offer, and leave it at that. There's a handful of us, myself included, We've had a couple guests on the show where we're the frame of mind that if we can help a seller by advising them, sharing them with them what their opportunities and options are, then it's a better win-win situation, even if they choose not to sell to us. But if they do sell to us, fantastic, we're happy to buy it. But I'm going to sit down with you. Trevor Thompson's going to sit down with you. He's another investor that I know who does this. There's, like I said, a handful of guys that are just super nice guys. They're going to sit down with you. I'm going to sit down with you and say, listen, I'd love to buy your home, but I think if you did this and this to it, assuming it's a light rehab, you'd probably make more money not selling it to me. If you want to sell it to me, great, but I just wanted to let you know what your options are. And hey, worst case scenario, I'd be happy to assist you through that remodeling process, and then at the end, if you needed a real estate agent to assist you, I'd love to do that as well, right? And so I wanted to talk about these types of opportunities, the We Buy Houses guys, because a lot of people out there don't know to call them. They just call up the real estate agent, which is, great. That's another great option. But again, when you're in a position where you might have a really rough around the edges homes, kind of a hoarder house, or you need an opportunity where you can fund a transaction really quickly, then I think it's worth at least a phone call. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about kind of the process of remodeling. So in case you feel that you want to do it yourself, right? Like you're like, I think I could do this myself, make a little extra money. We're going to go through and talk about the process of remodeling and kind of share with you what things you may want to consider as you progress forward tackling one of these types of projects yourself, which again, like I said, if it's not a massive project, can be very beneficial. So stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Did you know the snap leash is the most
convenient
leash in the world? That's right.
Dude, yeah, you're good at that. Are you sure we've done this before? I've never heard you talk for that long.
Yeah, dude, I literally made all that up on the. You can see I don't have any. Like last night, I went to write a script and I was like, I'm too tired. I'll just wing it. Like I'm literally winging all this. Like right now, what I've said, we're going to talk about after the commercial break. Like I just made that up right there. Now I'm like, okay, gotta think of what to say now. Sweet. Do you want to get a couple different angles, just so that one's not like, because that one's obviously just sitting there, and so that way we get a couple different shots.
Of course.
I think it's kind of cool. So the computer that was right here, Bailey, that I said is gone. It's just right here now. I didn't notice that. They just dropped it.
Oh, so someone did good.
Yeah, so I could have done it all right there. All right, so let's see here. All right, we are back. You are listening to K-Talk Radio 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki. And today we are talking about the We Buy Houses guys, how they work, and the different types of opportunities and options that they can present to you as a seller, depending on your situation. They're not for everybody, for sure. But, as we discussed just here a few minutes ago, they can be for some, and until you've had a discussion with them and reached out to them, you may obviously not realize what opportunities they have to present to you. So we are now going to dive into kind of just remodeling, right? So I fix and flip properties. I'm one of those We Buy Houses guys. I can help people who need to sell their house quickly. I can help people who have the hoarder house that they inherited that has 5, 6, 7 dumpsters worth of garbage in the home that needs to get disposed of that nobody wants to take care of, so they want to press the easy button and sell it to an investor who can come in, who has the crews to do all of that. But assuming that you have a project you want to tackle yourself, here's the thing. You've heard it before, and if you watch those shows, HGTV, you're probably very familiar that the money is going to come from the kitchen and baths. You're going to get the biggest return from the kitchen and baths, right? And if the home has a master suite, you'll even have a better return. Homes that we buy, depending on the neighborhood, of course, depending on the price point, if we meet that price point where master bedrooms are expected, but let's just say it's in Mill Creek, it's in Sugar House. High-end parts of Mill Creek, Sugar House will have smaller homes that are very old, and there's no master suite. There's a master bedroom, but there's no bathroom in that master suite. They just didn't design them that way back then. And if we can figure out a way in our remodeling to structure a master suite very inexpensively, because you can always figure it out. It's just a matter of how big the budget's going to cost you. But if you can figure it out inexpensively, then that's going to bring, on those higher end neighborhoods, a very good return to be able to produce a master suite for a Sugar House neighborhood or a Mill Creek neighborhood that there is no master suite. So if you inherit grandma's house, or you live there and you're looking to sell and you want to increase the value, kitchens and baths is where you're going to spend all your money, for most of it, for the most part. So there's a couple things that you're going to want to do as you progress forward. When I first got started in renovating homes, I just, you watch a couple of those TV shows, and everything that they throw in those TV shows and everything they throw in those houses on those TV shows is all brand new. Everything's brand new. So you think you're just supposed to do the same, right? And there are so many kitchens out there that are super dated, but the bones, the structure of the cabinets are super solid. I mean, they were built, really, really well. However, they're just dated. They have an old style to them, an old-fashioned look to them. You can definitely improve your kitchen on a very minimal budget if, rather than putting in new kitchen cabinets, you just refaced them, right? And refacing them is basically just putting on a new modern cabinet door. So what you do is you pay a refacing company, cabinet company, when you call a cabinet company, depending on the company, and say, hey, do you guys reface? A lot of them will say, we do, but it's just better to, it's just better to do new cabinets. It's only a little bit more, right? And they're sales people, right? That's what they do. They sell. So you want to be careful not getting talked into it if you are certain that your cabinets just need a new door. And so I share that with you because every time I reach out to cabinet companies to, just hear if they do refacing or have a conversation with them, some of them will try and sell you on a new cabinet because, of course, that's more profitable for them. And so just be aware that if your cabinets are really structurally sound, you can definitely reface, even though they may tell you it's better to do new. Sure, new is always nice, but we're trying to increase the profit in our pocket when we turn around and sell a home that we're remodeling. So basically, they come in, they take all the doors and hinges off of your cabinets, right? And because a lot of times the hinges are super dated, and so now a lot of hinges are hidden inside. When you open, when the cabinet doors close, you don't see the hinges on newer cabinets. On old-fashioned cabinets, when the cabinet doors closed, you can see the hinges. So you're going to want to upgrade the hinges as well, not just the door. So these companies will come in, they'll remove all the doors, they'll remove all the hinges, and the first thing they'll do is they will paint, and paint's not the right word, they probably refinish. But they can refinish it to any color you want, which is why I typically say paint. But they can refinish those cabinets to be any color that you want. Now, right now, white cabinetry is super hot. And, there's a couple colors like gray, white, that you'll see these refinishers come in and they'll paint the body of the cabinets so that they have that nice new color. And they'll usually paint the interior of the cabinets as well, inside of the cabinets, so the inside of the cabinets look fresh as well, right? Because a lot of times, if you don't paint the inside, when your buyer comes and opens up that cabinet door after they see this beautiful kitchen, they're going to see that the inside of the cabinets are extremely old or dated or maybe even water stained. So these refinishers are going to refinish the inside of the cabinets and the outside, right? And then they're going to put a new door, and then, in my personal opinion, it's a very minimal investment, but you put a new modern, or whatever the traditional knob or handle is that is at the time, that's hot at the time, right? And so if you put a new door, let's just say you paint everything white, Then you put a new shaker door or whatever kind of cabinet door that you want and a new handle on there. When people walk in, it literally looks like a brand new kitchen, right? And then of course, you're gonna update the countertop, right? Again, typically stone of some kind, or hard surface, well, all countertops are hard surfaces, but what's the word I'm looking for? Imitate, like quartz, sorry, I couldn't think of the brand. Quartz is like, it looks like marble, it looks like granite, it looks like stone, but it's not. You can definitely go with natural stone like Carrara marble or granite. However, I like quartz, and the reason why is quartz is a fabricated product which isn't porous. Carrara marble is porous, right? You spill a bottle of wine on your countertop and you don't notice it, or maybe spill is not the right word, but you place your wine cup on your Carrara marble, which has wine on the bottom for whatever reason that leaked, and then you go to bed and wake up later and that wine may have started to penetrate the porous rock, right? The porous marble, where quartz is not porous, and that's why I like quartz. But quartz will look, they can make quartz look just like marble, just like granite, and it's absolutely beautiful. So anyways, you probably want to entertain an idea like that as far as updating the freshness of the kitchen. And if you do those things, just those two things, that obviously is going to dramatically change and improve the appearance of the kitchen. However, if you have it in your budget, of course, new faucets and new light fixtures are going to be a game changer as well. Of course, depending on the paint color that you have there and your current flooring, you may need to improve that, but you may not. If you already have, hardwood floors, or the tile that's in there is already beautiful for whatever reason, or just clean, then you may not need to do flooring. Paint's so inexpensive that usually, even if the house is in great shape, we like to do a fresh coat of paint because it just looks like it's fresh, right? So you're going to basically improve that kitchen, and then you're going to do the same thing with the bathroom. If you've got a cabinet, a vanity that is solid, you can refinish that as well. However, vanities are so inexpensive. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and find, even Costco, and find a new vanity, they're not that expensive. You find one that meets your budget, and you can throw that into your bathroom, and again, that just improves it dramatically. A lot of bathrooms in older homes, like Sugar House, Mill Creek, I've seen are the old, what is it, the vinyl floor, right? They're peeling up, and so if you find yourself in one of those situations, then yes, I think it would be a good idea to do new tile into the bathroom. And here's what's great: bathrooms are typically smaller, so it's not that expensive, believe it or not, to get bids. I would say get some bids to figure out how much it's going to cost to do tile, and you'll be pretty surprised. It's not that expensive to do some new tile into a bathroom. It can get expensive, however, if you have the taste and choose the most expensive tile out there. However, if you just go with a nice, clean, fresh looking, up-to-date tile, it's not that expensive. I mean, at Home Depot, you can find some, pretty looking ceramic tile for 99 cents per square foot. Now, if you want to go all out and go marble and make the tile the nicest thing, I mean, you could definitely spend as much as $6 to $8 per square foot on tile. Probably don't want to do that if you're trying to increase your return on your remodeling. So I would say check out the prices at Home Depot, Lowe's, and here's what's so fantastic about remodeling homes today versus when I started. The world is so tech friendly that you can do all your shopping from your cell phone, from your laptop, from your computer, from your tablet. Back when I first started in the fix and flip real estate investing world, yes, there were a lot of companies that had websites, but but a lot of them didn't have a very robust website. It had their address, it had the hours that they were opened, it had, basic information. It did not have every product that was for sale in their store, right? And what's so great now is you can go to Home Depot, you can go to Lowe's.com, right? Go to their websites. You can go to Floor and Decor if you were looking for flooring. You can go to Quantum Flooring if you're looking for flooring. I mean, if you go to these websites, they've got every single product on their website that you can literally shop to find the perfect product right there on your sofa, right? And compare prices. Back when I started the investing world, if I wanted to compare prices, I went in my car, drove over to Home Depot, priced out the tile. Got back in my car, drove over to Lowe's, priced out the tile. Got back in my car, drove over to the mom and pop tile store to figure out who was the best price, who had sales, and where I'd be able to save a buck or two. And it was super time consuming. Now I can sit on my phone and just do a quick comparison and figure out where I'm going to just order my products from, right? And so it makes remodeling a home so easy. You hear of all the nightmare stories of people who remodel a home, and there definitely are nightmare stories out there. And a lot of those nightmare stories, I think, have to do with, obviously, the contractor who they're having the nightmare with. And I think that it becomes more of a nightmare for a homeowner who's trying to renovate a project when they leave most of the control up to the contractor. I have found that when I control parts of the project, then since I'm in control, the project runs smoother. Meaning, I will, rather than just saying, I'm looking to get a modern looking this or that, and then the contractor comes and shows me, or the interior designer comes and shows me a couple options of this or that, right? With the internet, you can just Google whatever this or that is and do a quick comparison yourself. Don't leave those decisions up to a third party. Just take control and go, that's the hardware I want on my cabinets. That's the light fixture I want, in my kitchen. That's the light fixture I want dangling over the dining room table. And if you start purchasing these things just online or coordinating with your contractor that these are the items that you're going to want, it takes less of their guesswork out for them and makes it a lot easier for them, and obviously a lot easier for you too. So I would say that take as much control of a project as you possibly can. A lot of times we want to hire someone so we don't have to think about those things. However, that's great if you find yourself in a situation that everything's running smooth. But it's those nightmare stories that you hear about contractors that I think it's a good idea to take control, obviously. And maybe that, like I said, maybe that means you're ordering it. Here's the other great thing is everything you can purchase now can be delivered, right? You purchase it on HomeDepot.com, it's delivered. You don't have to actually go get it. Amazon. So maybe you take control, purchase these things, and then just have them delivered. Because here's the reality. When you pay a contractor to go pick up the light fixture for you, to go pick up the chandelier, to go pick up the mirror, they're going to pay for the product, and then they're going to charge you for their time, right? Rightfully so. They don't do that stuff for free. They're not going to go shopping for you for free. They might have discounts at certain stores that they'll buy stuff at, but they're still going to charge you to go and pick it up. And so if you purchase the stuff yourself, have it delivered to the house, then that's one less thing that you need to, one way to minimize, kind of help your budget, if that makes sense. If you have an endless budget that you can spend as much as you want, great, just pay your contractors to pick it up. Now, there are things that make sense for them to pick up, like lumber, I'll have, or sheetrock, right? Like big pallets or big, bunch of slabs of drywall. So, because my contractors have the big trucks and the trailers, that's something that I'll just say, hey, listen, the next time you're at Home Depot, you don't have to go running there now, but the next time you go, would you mind picking up the sheetrock? Because I think we're going to need it here in the next week or two. Sure. And I just remind them to get it so that they don't have to make a trip specifically for it. They're just going to get it the next time they go. However, those things are big, and that makes sense for them to pick up. But like the light fixture, stuff like that, I mean, I think if you can take more control, you're going to find your project running a little bit smoother, right? So those are really, things that you'll hear the industry use the term sizzle factors. Things that will create sizzle are stuff like new light fixtures, right? Brand new light fixtures can really, especially if it illuminates well, can really brighten up and change the appearance of a room. Where dark lighting, nobody likes dark lighting, right? You want your light to be bright, your room to be bright. So I would say hardware, like meaning the knobs and handles on cabinetry, they create sizzle. I mean, you can definitely pick ugly hardware, but if you got beautiful hardware, that's sizzle. Light fixtures, that's sizzle. Stone countertops, or like I said, quartz countertops, that's sizzle. And then, of course, whatever the most modern color of cabinetry is, that's sizzle. And light fixtures are not that expensive. Hardware is not that expensive. Refacing a kitchen is a little more expensive than the light fixtures, of course, but not that expensive. Probably the biggest expense is going to be if you had to do new floor or the countertop, right? And if you didn't have to do new floor, then really you're looking at your countertop. So as you can see, it can be very affordable to remodel a home. And again, going back to the story I shared earlier on the show where I met with this family, that's kind of what they needed to do. There was not a lot. And I said, listen, you guys can really improve the look of your home if you just did these few things, which aren't that expensive, and assuming you have that budget, or you can get an equity line of credit, it may be worth it because you would drastically improve the value of your home to sell for a much higher price, giving you more profit on the sale. However, as I mentioned earlier on the show, I told them if they chose not to go that route and they really wanted to sell to me, I'd be happy to buy it. But I gave them advice that was going to be able to help them get more money in their pocket. All right, so we're going to take another quick commercial break, and we're going to keep talking about remodeling homes. And so when we get back, we'll dive in deeper, kind of just more now the rest of the home. We talked about the kitchens and the baths. Let's talk about the rest of the house when we come back.
Hi, I'm Yoshi Shiraki, the author of the book My Body's Just For Me.
All right, what am I going to talk about now? The rest of the house. Let's see.
The driveway. You're going to tell the driveway story.
Driveway story. I do have a driveway story. This did not happen to me.
I know. Right? Are we talking about the same one? That was his face came in and told us about?
Oh, yeah, that's one. Yeah, Mike Burns, right? His driveway was gone.
Say stuff about the landscape more. Like, I mean, yeah, the other part of the home, right? I don't know what else. Or you could get into, like, specifics with plumbing when it comes to different types of pipes and how that affects over time based on being dated and those inspections you guys are talking about that you need.
Yeah. Living rooms, I think basements too. A lot of people say, should I finish my basement?
I can't wait to flip a house.
It's fun.
I know, it sounds so fun. Like, I can't freaking wait, man. It'll all be worth it, you know?
Oh, yeah. We are back. You're listening to K-Talk Radio 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki. We are talking about remodeling homes. So I wanted to dive into the rest of the house. Now, the rest of the house, outside the kitchens and bath, is really quite easy. It's really just flooring and paint for the most part. Now, light fixtures, again, I think will improve the appearance of a room, whether it's the living room or the family room or the TV room, whatever you want to call it. I think a new light fixture can really improve, and they're very inexpensive. If you go to HomeDepot.com, click on light fixtures, start scrolling through it, you'll see there's a lot of pretty light fixtures that are very affordable. Not that expensive, a very minimal investment that will improve the home, give it the sizzle factor that will create bidding wars, that will grab the emotions of your buyers so that when they go to purchase your house, you're hopefully selling for top dollar due to bidding wars that multiple buyers competed for your house because it looks so good. So flooring is carpet's typically going to be cheaper than hard surface flooring, laminate, hardwood, tile. And so I think there's a place for carpet, and there's also a place for laminate when it comes to really trying to get top dollar for your house. in my personal opinion, when you walk in that front door and you're on that main level, let's face it, hard like laminate flooring, pergo, hardwood floor, it's prettier than carpet, right? Especially if you get nice looking. I mean, they come in so many different shades, colors, designs. But if you go with a nice one, I mean, it's going to make that front room look so much nicer. And here's the thing: we live in we live in Utah, where in the winter we come home and our shoes are wet, right? And you walk in that front door, your guests walk in that front door, and then they step on that front carpet, and now you got water stains on the carpet, right? Laminate or pergo or hardwood, something that's wipeable, is so much nicer when you come in that front door, because if your shoes are wet and the snow melts off all over the floor, it's an easy wipe with a paper towel. Where carpet, might have some mud in there. So I would say it's worth the investment, in my personal opinion, to put laminate where the main floor is, right? Where the kitchen, front door, main floor is. And then, if you were on a budget, put carpet the rest of the home, right? So the bedrooms would have carpet, basement would have carpet, because carpet's still nice. It's just laminate's nicer. And so we'll do a lot of basements, we'll put carpet in the basements, but then on the main floor, we'll do typically laminate throughout the main floor. So that, like I said, you walk in that front door and your breath is taken away, right? Your buyer's breath is taken away by the appearance of how the house looks. So I would say put some laminate on the main primary floor, carpet throughout the rest of the home, paint a neutral color that is desirable at the time. Right now, you're going to see a lot of light grays and a lot of whites on the walls. Those are the two most popular colors right now. I would say like 10, 12 years ago, it was like tan. Light tan was the in color. Light tan is definitely not in anymore. It's going to be the light grays and whites. And so you can do, of course, whatever color you want, but what we want to do is cater to the masses, right? And right now, the masses are loving white and light gray. So if you're going to invest in spending some money into your wall color, then definitely invest in the color that's catered, that the masses want, not the minorities. You want to appeal to as many people as you possibly can when you turn around and put your house on the market. And so I feel that, so basically, in closing this show, I think that if you search hardware, you search light fixtures, paint, as I talked about, is very inexpensive, refacing cabinetry, flooring is going to be hit or miss. A lot of people already have nice flooring if it's already a hard surface. If you already got a hard surface flooring, probably just leave it, but unless it's damaged for any reason. But if you got carpet there that has stains, maybe you want to rip it out. Maybe, I don't know. You're gonna have to take it by, each carpet situation is different. I've seen carpet that has stains, but carpet cleaner came and took them out, and it worked, and it looked great. But if they don't come out, then you might want to rip out that carpet, get some new carpet in there. And if you just take control of the project, take control of the budget, then really what you're pricing out there forward is just labor, right? And now if you're getting bids on people's labor, you really can take control of the actual budget and the actual project, which I think is going to make life so much easier for you when you head down your remodeling project. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a spectacular Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody has a spectacular rest of the day. You've been listening to K-Talk Radio 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I'm your host, Yoshi Shiraki. And again, I want to make a big announcement that I'm very excited about, because at the end of this year, it is the last of my shows here on K-Talk. I will be moving to Good Things, Utah, and I will be on television starting in January. So if you want to follow me on my social media, we will be transitioning from K-Talk Radio to Good Things, Utah here shortly. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of those places, YouTube. And you can follow me as we make this transition from radio, K-Talk Radio, to Good Things Utah. And I hope you all have a spectacular rest of the day. Okay, before we part ways, in case you have a dog or know someone else who does have a dog, I wanted to take a quick second to show you the snap leash. The snap leash can literally do so many things, and I'm going to share with you one of the many cool things that it can do. As you can see, the snap leash is designed with 2 swivel hooks, one on each end. This end has a cushion stitched into it to make it comfortable when walking your dog. Now, all you have to do is take this swivel hook, put it into this very first grommet, and now you've got your handle. Okay, so now let's imagine you're at the park and you want to secure your pet quickly, safely, and easily to a park bench, a tree, or a pole because you just want to sit down and relax. Well, all you need to do is take this swivel hook, remove it from the very first grommet, wrap this leash around any size tree or pole or park bench, and put it into the appropriate grommet. And now you have secured your pet quickly, safely, and easily. And when it's time to head home, another great feature about the snap leash is you can simply wrap it around your waist for hands-free walking. Lastly, if you ever accidentally forget your waist bags at home, these grommets make a great place to fasten the waist bags so you never leave home without them. And if you want to see all of the other cool things that the snap leash can do, then please just click on the link below and find out why so many others are falling in love with the snap leash.